Low coal prices mean heavy smog in China. Smog is a health concern in many areas, such as China's capital, Beijing, which started the new year with heavy smog hanging over the city. The skies seem darker than usual, resulting from the thick clouds mixing with smoke and air pollution. Beijing residents were forced to wear protection from the heavy smog when traveling. Many people wore masks to cover their noses and mouths and help keep them from breathing in the small pieces of unhealthy particulates floating in the air. But China's capital is not alone. Heavy smog has forced more than 60 cities, including Beijing, to declare health alerts. Last week, Chinese media announced the government is stopping local weather bureaus from making smog alert declarations. This raised suggestions that the government is trying to withhold information about air pollution. The smog has led to delays of airline flights, problems involving shipping and port operations, and school closings in the north and centre of the country. In early January, more than 2,000 people were forced to stay on a cruise ship for 2 days because of the smog. The thick clouds prevented the ship from reaching the port of Tianjin safely, the Beijing Evening News reported. The same week, 3 northern ports had to suspend loading of goods on ships for 1 day because air pollution made it difficult to see. The government and environmentalists say the smog is coming from coal-burning factories and power stations. In December 2016, the Chinese government released new 5-year targets for cutting its huge coal production. The plan is to reduce the coal production capacity by 800 million metric tons in 2020, the National Development and Reform Commission said. Chinese officials are trying to restrict the use of coal in the very cold northern parts of the country. Across large areas of the countryside, people burn untreated coal in home stoves to stay warm. Between 1950 and 1980, coal was given to people for free. Today, many Chinese still depend on it for heating. Yao Junhua lives in Qinan. Here, Yao speaks through a translator as he sits by his home stove filled with coal. I don't think burning coal for heating can cause terrible air pollution. I think it's unfair for them to blame us as the source of pollution. We burn very little coal in villages. Environmentalists say both the large industrial plants and small stoves are responsible for China's air pollution. Ma Jun is director of the Institute of Public and Environmental Affairs. His words are translated here. But for these surrounding areas, it is not necessarily the case that coal burning for household heating is the main source of pollution. The main source of pollution is steel factories and heavy industries, and our priority should be given to shutting down these major polluters. Recently, the government announced plans to establish a new police force. Its officers will deal with environmental crimes as part of efforts to clean up the air and punish repeat polluters. The government has invested billions in clean energy to cut back on the need for imported oil and gas as well as coal. Not including large-scale hydroelectric dams, China invested $103 billion last year in wind, solar, and other renewable sources, according to the United Nations Environment Programme. The United States spent $44 billion. At the same time, China has promised to build a number of new Some Beijing residents are angry about living in a polluted cloud. Zhan Yan, who lives in Beijing, is heard through a translator. I believe we will eventually resolve the air pollution problem, but the thing is, how long does it take for them to fix this? If they need a few decades, my child will live under the smog all his life, and I will end my life in smog as well. If so, where is the hope? Some people in China might be trying to escape from the pollution, at least for a short period. For example, people there are looking to take lung cleansing trips to Antarctica and Iceland. It says online searches for terms like smog escape, lung cleansing, and forests had tripled during the thick air pollution time. That information comes from a report titled Smog Escape Travel Ranking by the Seatrip.com website. Warm islands like the Seychelles and the Maldives also made the list. As long as coal remains the cheapest way to stay warm, China will have to continue to work for cleaner air.